All right, ladies and gentlemen, how you all doing? So, this is kind of like a weird stream, honestly. I could have just made this like a test stream or whatever, but second I speak, the car's going by. But it's like sort of like a test stream. I wanted to try this because you can probably tell, by the corner, top right. Well, for me, it's top right. For you lot, it will be top left up here. We're actually doing this with StreamYard. And the reason, so this stream is basically like a test. And I thought, well, if it's a test, let's just talk about football. And I wanted to try out StreamYard because I found that it's actually quite a good platform. You can actually invite people onto the platform. So it's actually something that I kind of want to experiment with. And then obviously decide whether I'll get the actual premium version or not, where you can have like up to 8 people on. So, that may be something I'll think about in the future. But there's a few things that I wanted to actually talk about. And a lot of those things are transfer related, not everything, but I kind of like have a few topics, and then depending on what people, ask, if there are any people watching this, we can kind of move on from there. But like in terms of like the topics that I want to talk about, obviously the international games are starting soon. The Switzerland against Germany team, as well as the Spain team, which I'm also looking forward to watching both of them. Who else is playing? Hungary versus Russia, that already happened. Serbia versus Turkey. Ireland versus Finland, it just finished 1-0 to Finland. So a few games obviously happening each day, which is actually good. It kind of eases off the boredom. But in terms of the games that I'm looking forward to is the Germany versus Switzerland game, as well as the Spain versus Ukraine game, just because of Thiago playing, and for the German team, who's playing? Süle playing and Sané playing. So 2 players that are Bayern players that are playing. So I'm looking forward to these kind of games. But besides that, there are topics that I do want to talk about. Now, the first one is about Früchtl. He was loaned out, right? He was loaned out to Nuremberg. Most of you probably know that already, but he was loaned out to Nuremberg. And there was a quote that came out today by Nuremberg coach Robert Klaus. And Robert Klaus essentially said something which I find quite disrespectful, to be completely honest, but he said, and I quote, it's translated by Aimir Zanmir. It's a quote by Bild. I'm not going to read the official, but this is the translated version. And he says, I'm very happy with all 4 goalkeepers. Chris Früchtl brought in exactly what we hoped for from him. He got Marfinha to take another step forward. Marfinha was the best goalkeeper for us in the preparation and will start the next games. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but hello back to the Ukraine. Hello back to you. I hope you're having a fantastic day. But the reason why I want to talk about this specifically is because we loaned him out there. We loaned him out to Nuremberg with the intention for him to get game time. And now the coach comes out and is like, yeah, he's not really good at play. Like he's not really good at play. Like, I get it. Like, I get it with players that, with coaches that like sometimes they don't prepare a player. But we would have surely talked to Nuremberg before this and basically established that Früchtl was going to play. And the fact that he isn't playing, that he isn't allowed to play for them, or that he isn't in the starting squad, kind of makes this loan pointless. And just from that perspective, I'm like, this was a really bad loan. Can we cancel this loan by any chance? I mean, we should be able to, but like, this is a really, really bad loan. And it's actually why I want to talk about this. Ali Zagmood, hello, man. Hi to you too. Amis Nemera says that why was my message deleted? I have like 2 mods, but none of them are really active. I could probably make a few more mods. But like I'm not the one deleting the messages basically, because I'm not really. I let people say whatever they want, honestly, unless they're bots. Which is why I've been doing for the last couple of weeks now. Every time I upload a video, there's like 50 bots. But I'm not one to delete messages. So if your message is deleted, it must have been like the YouTube's algorithm. So just make sure that you change your message a little bit, and then try it again. Ali Zachmud asks, what do you think about Perisic staying at Bayern? I think he is a good player, a good squad player. I don't think he's necessarily fantastic. I don't think he's necessarily bad. I think he's a good squad player that has done well in crucial moments at Bayern. and in other moments hasn't done as well. But just because of his experience, I wouldn't be opposed for him being at Bayern. Now, obviously, the big thing is as well that he would accept a squad role, and from that perspective, I'm like, good. We need these kind of players that do accept the squad role, that are happy to not start every game, and that's exactly what Perisic will offer us. That's exactly what Perisic will bring us. The only big thing, of course, is first of all the fee, and then his salary. If we can reduce the salary by $1 million or $2 million, sounds a lot. $1 million or $2 million. I'm just throwing it out there, let's reduce his salary by $1 million or $2 million. Yeah, I wish I could make $1 million or $2 million a year. I'd be sorted. I would be sorted. But if we could just reduce his salary by $1 million or $2 million, then hey, even if not, we have the money. Granted, he is not going to start much, but I would much rather have an additional winger in the team than not, because we know our players. Coman is relatively injury prone. Sané, I wouldn't really call injury prone. I will say that he has injuries that keep him out for long, but he's not really injury prone like Robin, for example, was, or Coman is. But I would like to see Perisic stay, but I do think we need to find the right fee, and we also need to find the right salary. Is he going to be our best winger? No. Is he necessarily the worst winger we could possibly have? No. So for me, it's just a case of, I would love for him to be at Bayern. I would love for him to stay at Bayern, for him to continue at Bayern. But if it doesn't happen, Rummenigge is leading the charge personally right now, trying to get him. So I'm very, very certain that it's going to happen. If Rummenigge starts something, it's 9 times out of 10 it happens. So I don't mind him staying. He's got to understand his own squad role, and from that perspective, I'm okay with it. That's my thought on Perisic. Geico Gecko. I like that name. Geico Gecko. The watch and get. Oh, that's pretty nice name. Am I getting the Champions League kit with the new badges? Yes and no. Yes and no. So a few weeks ago, I posed a question on the YouTube community page as well as on Twitter of what kit I should be getting, and people decided I should get the Davis kit, which is the one I've been wearing recently. In my past videos, you might have seen me wear the Davis kit that just arrived last week. Then I also got this hat, which obviously is the Champions of Europe. I actually got an email a minute ago. A minute before I started the stream, I got an email that my order has been cancelled because they don't have any stock anymore. And I'm like, okay. So one of my orders has been cancelled. It was just a scarf, though. It wasn't a kit, but it was just a scarf. And I am gonna get the Champions League kit with the new, with the first of all the 6, and then ultimately I want the one with the Club World Cup badge as well. So I'm gonna wait until that comes out, until the full kit comes out. But it's expensive, bro. 120 quid. I was looking, I was like, bro, 120 quid. My goodness. My goodness. Straight up, my goodness. So right now I'm debating if I should buy it right now, if I should wait until the Club World Cup badge is out. I'm still in that camp right now where I'm like, should I not? I'm not sure. Christmas is coming up. There's probably going to be some sort of promotion. So I can wait. I can wait until then. But I will probably be getting it. Definitely want to get myself a scarf. I'm going to try and get a different scarf because the one that I wanted ran out. So the Bayern store ran out of it. So I'm going to have to try and see what else I can do. CG asks, do you Bayern fans like Hoeneß again? Now, for me, I've never disliked Hoeneß. Also, I liked Todoroki profile picture. I never disliked Hoeneß. I've always liked Hoeneß. To me, when I think of Bayern, there are 3 people that I think of: Oliver Kahn, Lahm, and Hoeneß. Those are the 3 people I think of when I think of Bayern. Those are the 3 people I think of. So I always liked Hoeneß. Tax evasion, so on and so forth. The thing was, right, the rule. I'm not that versed in German law. I'll say that right now. I'm not that versed in German law, but from what I've read a long time ago when the whole case was going on, the whole tax scenario was basically, if you admit your tax faults before they catch you, then you should be, then they will let you off. You'll pay a small fee and they will let you off. But with him, they were like, no, you're too big of a profile case. We're going to make an example out of you. And it's like, bro, that's not really what the law is supposed to do. The law is supposed to be equal to everyone. But that's a different scenario. I never disliked him. I don't know about anyone else. Maybe other people can let you know how they feel about him, but that's just my case. No, that's just the way I see it. Tower Swift asked, "Hey, I really like this from StreamYards. I have to say, where I can like just show profile, where we can just show like comments on screen. It just makes things simple. Like you all know exactly what I'm talking about. It just makes things simple. I might actually get like the pro version or the premium version of StreamYards if I'm gonna continue streaming like this in the future. But we'll see whether I'll do that. The premium. I think the premium version costs like $200 a year, so that's not tragic. But hey, Prince, I hope you're doing fine. I am Tower Sif. I am doing the same as always. Great, fantastic. I hope you're doing well as well. Shoot. Finn Hortensius. I'm hoping I said your name right. Do you think Kimmich will change the shirt number to 6 if Thiago leaves or keep? Oh, that's a good question. Personally, I hope he keeps the number 32. I like the number 32 because when I think of Kimmich, when I think of that 32, I think of like Schweinsteiger, who's had like this high number, in terms of like shirt number, who's had this high shirt number for his career. And I think that would just work fantastic for Kimmich as well. I think there aren't any other players I can think of that have the number 32, so he could just be JK32, marketing in a marketing sense, it would help as well. So I actually think he should keep it. Who should get the number 6? I don't know. We'll see about that in the future, I guess. But I would personally want him to like keep 32. I think it suits him very well, and so far it has brought him a lot of luck. So I'm not one to complain, and I'm not one to hashtag jinx protect or jinx anything. So hey, that's just the way I see it. That's the way I see it. Carvajal is replying to a few people that regarding the Uli Hoeneß situation, which is fine. Tausif asked again, have you seen FIFA Football's Sensible Transfers Bayern Munich video? I've not. I saw the discussion that Raphael Honigstein had. I think it was with Tifo Football. Maybe it was that, but like I think it was a podcast more so than anything else where he talked about sensible transfers. But like I watched that podcast, and I'm like, great. I like before I started that podcast, I was like, great. Let's see what sensible transfers he advocates. And then it was just like a talk about like, oh, Bayern is doing so well. I was like, but you haven't talked about a single transfer. So I don't know whether that's that. It wouldn't be. I don't actually know. I don't know whether that's that Tifo Football video. I might have to check it out, and I don't know. Maybe react to it. Ooh. But like I don't think I've seen it unless it was the one with Raphael Honigstein. But I don't think I have seen it. What do you think about the rumors of Thiago staying at Bayern? I don't think he's staying. All right? I'll be honest. I don't think he's staying. I do not think he is staying in the slightest. I think he's going to leave. Right now, what he's saying is basically to have the other clubs pay money for him. We have good sources that say that, other clubs are in for him. They're just monitoring the situation right now and waiting for outgoing transfers. Liverpool, the big one, obviously the big rumor that Liverpool is getting Thiago, but they're just waiting for Wijnaldum to be sold to Barcelona. And then we got news today that came out that Barcelona is stepping up their interest. So it seems like the domino pieces are starting to fall. I think right now he's just kind of dancing around the topic, which some people that hold him in such a high regard, which I do as well. But that people that hold him in a very high regard, they're obviously very disappointed because of very much being led on and then led off. They're like, wow, maybe Thiago is staying. No, I don't think he's staying. Whoa, maybe he is staying. And then news comes out that he isn't staying. They're just kind of toyed with, I guess. I personally, I can see through all that, I guess, because I've been here for a while now. I've seen these transfer sagas go, and ultimately, generally, where there's smoke, there is fire. So I think he's most certainly going to leave. If Barcelona get Wijnaldum, I think he's going to leave, and I don't think there's a way around it. I don't think there are rumors that Manchester United will be interested in him. I don't think Manchester United are really going to go for him, but that's what I think about the Thiago situation. Do you think Bayern needs a new right back, and who would you sign? Those are two separate questions, because my answer to the first part is no. I don't think Bayern needs a new right back. So I'm gonna answer the second question separately, as in like who would you sign in terms of which player I would sign. If you give, are we talking about an unlimited budget? Are we talking about a limited budget? Like, if you give me a normal budget, you give me Perisic, honestly, reduce his wages a little bit, and I'm okay. And I'm okay. Like that would be my squad. I'm okay. All right, because I want to see how Kouassi does first. So I don't necessarily think we necessarily need anyone. I know that's not the answer that people want to hear. People want to be like, oh, I want this person, I want this, I want that. That's not me. All right, I'll be honest. That's not how I think. That's not how I look at it. I'm like, we have a good squad, and we've just won the Champions League while having a squad that had big injuries. Like, let's not forget, Sula was out for like 8 months, right? And if the Corona thing didn't happen, he wouldn't have been playing. But we have a big squad. We just had all the injuries basically in the latter half of the season, with like Sula being the exception who had an injury at the beginning of this season, right? So from that perspective, I think we're actually sorted. I think if we keep Perisic, I think we're actually sorted. Because I also personally think that Croissance is going to have a much bigger role in the team, than people might have anticipated. So that's basically the way I look at it. So yeah. What kind of players do we need to sign? Some Somali stories. I kind of just answered that. But like, if you told me like we have to sign 3 players, right, or for 3 positions, we'll probably get a new right back in that case. We'll probably get I would get another. Who would I get? I would get a right back, and that's honestly it. Like honestly, that's it. Like I was going to say like a replacement for Müller, but no, I don't. Müller doesn't get injured. That's the first thing. I know it's like bad to like counter that, but he doesn't get injured. That's just a fact of life. It's like Lewandowski. Lewandowski doesn't get injured. So I'd get a right back, play Kimmich in midfield. We have Tolisso, we have Goretzka, we have plenty of midfielders that can kind of fill in. So that's it. That's it. Perisic to stay. As I said, I think when Rummenigge himself is doing something in person, himself doing something, then I think it's basically as good as done. I think it's as good as done. All right. So from that perspective, I think he's gonna stay. Like, if you also notice, like, we said goodbye to Odriozola, we said goodbye to Coutinho, we haven't said goodbye to Perisic yet. And Rummenigge has been talking a lot in the media, the last 3 weeks, give or take, talking about, Perisic. We want Perisic to stay. So, and now, according to Bill Plus, I think yesterday or 2 days ago came out that they said that Rummenigge himself is personally leading the charge. He's personally talking to Inter himself to get this deal sorted. So, from that perspective, I think it's as good as done. When Rummenigge does something, it's as good as done. That's about the Uli Hoeneß situation. It was at the beginning of the season that he stepped down. However, he's still with the new friends, so that might be where you saw it. Yeah, Uli Hoeneß, he is still he's still in every single game. Like, he's still always there. He might not be the president in the official capacity anymore, but he's still the president in spirit, basically. That's a very interesting. I want to talk about this. I want to go into this a little bit. I have my windows open, so if you can hear the dog barking outside. If you can hear the dog barking outside, you can hear it, all right? I'm sure you can. But yeah, should the 5 sub rule stay after the pandemic? Yes. I'm a big fan of the 5 sub rule. However, I would change it. I would change it to something that I think would benefit a lot of clubs in the long run, and also wouldn't harm the bigger clubs with larger squads, and wouldn't harm the smaller clubs with the smaller clubs with smaller squads. What I would do is have three normal substitutions like we've always had. You can sub 3 times in the game, and I think you can do 5 subs if the last 2 subs, or if 2 subs of yours are youth players. And I think the way I would go about it is have like players under 20. If you're under 20, you could have 2 extra substitutions, and I think that way you could integrate youth players into these established teams, or you could have like smaller teams that can then bring their youth forward, and that will give them an incentive to play these younger people, to integrate them into the squad. And I think that would in the long term benefit all clubs from all levels. Obviously those with better youth teams would do significantly better, but I think it will benefit the youth players because they will get some game time. It will benefit the established players because they can play 60 minutes or so and then get subbed out, get some rest. They don't get injured as often. So I think just from that perspective, I would keep the 5 subs rule, but I would amend it to the point where you can have 3 normal substitutions and then you can have 2 extra substitutions for players that are under 20 years old. That is the way I would approach it. I know not everyone would approach it that way, but that's the way I would approach it. Let's see what you wrote. It's a long comment, so I'm just going to highlight it before I even read it. Is it bad that I'm American but I don't care about the national team? I'm a big fan of the Dutch team. I know all the players almost by heart, but not the American team. The way I always look at it with football, right? And I'm a bad example. I'm a bad example in this case because I grew up in Munich. So I'm a bad example with this, right? Because I'm not someone that didn't grow up in Munich or that didn't live in Munich. So me supporting Bayern, it's kind of, for me, just became natural, right? But the way I always look at football, and obviously you're talking about the international side, I want to talk about the club side here as well, because I think I can talk about that better. The way I look at it is this. Yes, one is your country. You're supposed to support your country, but when it comes to football, there are many reasons to support a team. Now, there is a reason of being born in a city, being in a specific place, and then you support the thing that's around you, which is what happened with me. But there's also, supporting players that you enjoy watching. I mean, I'll say this right now. If I wasn't a Bayern fan, I probably would have been a Barcelona fan, because growing up, luckily, my first heroes in football were Oliver Kahn and Sami Kufor. But later on in football, it was Ronaldinho. I looked up to Ronaldinho. I was like, I want to try and play like him. So I think, there are a lot of reasons to support a club or support a nation. It has to do with the geography. It has to do with the players, maybe the structure, maybe, maybe their success. I hate that argument, but maybe their success. So there are a lot of reasons to support a club. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. I think it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I also don't think there's anything right with that, if that makes sense. I'm not gonna try and butcher. Abu Bakr Ali, hi, welcome back to you too. Hope you're having a good day. I don't know what Towers writes, but he always writes a lot. So let's have a look. About a T for football. It's not a podcast. It's a 6-minute video. Some interesting name. By interesting, I mean I've never heard of them. I don't know whether I mentioned this right, but I mentioned this to Anup on Twitter. Well, I was talking to him in DMs, but I don't think I've mentioned this outright. I'm actually currently scouting for players. As in in my own free time, I'm watching a lot of the lower leagues. I've been watching a lot of the Chinese Super League recently. I think I watched 4 games or so. I've been watching a lot of the Austrian Bundesliga, from last season and so on and so forth. Because I'm thinking about doing scouting, doing scouting badges. Maybe do some freelance scouting for clubs. Obviously, right now with the Corona situation, that's kind of haywire. But I am just doing scouting right now for myself, analyzing them. I've got a book here where I've written a list of 10 names over the past week, just analyzing them, their strengths, their weaknesses, how I would rank them, so on and so forth. Just so once the Corona season is over, I can kind of just hop into scouting. So maybe there's going to be some interesting names that nobody's heard of in the future that I'm going to mention on this channel. I don't know. But I haven't done the badges yet, obviously. I'm thinking about doing that, and I could probably start doing that now, but I also want to get the practical side done while I'm doing the theoretical side as well. So that's going to have to wait until the 2021 season in the way I see it. Ali Zagman asks, is the Corona still bad there in Germany? I don't live in Germany, right? But speaking to my family that lives there, my grandma, she is A-okay. Basically they said 2 months ago it was A-okay. I was I'm still in lockdown. Are you guys in lockdown? They're no. Lockdown? No. My uncle's actually getting married. Actually, he probably would have gotten married today. I should message him. Yeah, he probably got married today or tomorrow. Like he's getting married this week basically, and the week is over. So he's probably today, although yesterday. But it's not like a big marriage. It's just like your tiny marriage to get the documents, and then like the actual party / ceremony marriage is gonna be in like 6 months or so, which is when I'm gonna be there. But like they're a-okay. Like life back there is pretty much a-okay. It's not like the UK where we in Manchester we're allowed to go outside, and then like they were like, no, wait. Manchester has such a bad rate with corona, we're gonna have to shut down Manchester. And I was like, bro, so we were shut down for like a month, then you allowed us to go out for like 2 weeks, and then you shut us down again. It's like now we're all shut down again. It's like, bro, I hate this lockdown. But oh well. Carvajal writes, I like that. I love that picture, honestly. I love that picture of Neuer just, why so serious? Kind of fits in with the Goretzka mask that he was wearing recently. I'm a neutral when it comes to national team competitions. I just like watching any team, whether it's Germany, France, Portugal, Russia, Colombia. I am as well, but I'm not. I am as well, but I'm not. When it comes to Germany, it's a lot less. It's a lot more similar. It's a lot less similar than it is with my support of Bayern. So here's the thing: when it comes to Bayern, I watch obviously every single game. If I don't catch a game, if I'm busy on that day, I record that game so I can watch it back. I'm not trying to miss a single game. Like back a long time ago, like 2008-ish, when I first moved from Munich to Manchester, and I didn't have all the fancy TV setup and so on and so forth. I used to follow the Bayern games through like live commentary on like BBC Sports and so on and so forth. So that's how I used to follow football basically for like a good year or two. And nowadays, obviously with streaming, but now also me having like all these setups where I can actually watch football, it's a lot less easier. But when it comes to like the national team competition, I'm just like, I don't care, but I do care, but I don't care. It's like just I'll watch it. When Germany plays, I watch every single German game. If I don't see it, I'll record it. But it's not like I'm necessarily like up at like 5 a.m. It wouldn't be 5 a.m. granted, but like I don't wake up just to watch the game. If I'm asleep, I'll just like record it and watch it back. Whereas with Bayern, I'd actually wake up for it, that kind of thing. So that's the way I view it, though. Roma asked a great question: who has a better legacy, Hummels or Boateng? Boateng. That's a very simple answer. As Ali Zagmut here shows as well, Boateng has a much better legacy. Boateng has won 2 trebles at Bayern. Nothing more needs to be said than that. Boateng has won the Champions League twice with Bayern. Hummels hasn't won it once. That's literally, we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. Straight up. Speaking of centre backs, right? Before I move on to the next comment, speaking of centre backs, who is it? I wish Badstuber had a much better, had less injuries. He was the most talented centre back Germany had. He was the most talented centre back that Bayern had, and then injuries ruined him. I know it was like a thing recently where like the coach of the club that he currently plays for basically said that he's not good enough to play for us anymore, and he's had a fall from grace, not because of his ability but because of injuries, and I hate seeing that. It's just one of those things that I hate seeing. So I hope, it's difficult at this point, I guess, but I hope he comes back stronger than ever, whether that's at his current club or whether that's at a different club. I just hope that he has a great career from here on out. That's the way I see it. I just want to talk about that a little bit. Wasn't there a clause in Fritzl's contract if he hasn't started a certain amount of games that a loan fee will be paid? I haven't heard about that at all. I've not heard about that at all. It might be. You might be right, but like from what I've heard, I've not. The reason why I'm wearing this is because my hairline is a total mess, which I'm like trying to cover it up a little bit. But like, yeah, I haven't heard about that at all. Though an Ansu Gnabry lookalike. I'm assuming that means thoughts on Ansu Gnabry lookalike. Ansu Fati and Gnabry lookalike. Who? I don't know who you're talking about. Who looks like both of them? I don't know. Or do you mean that Gnabry looks like Ansu Fati? In that case, let me have a quick look. I don't see it. I don't see it. So I'm not sure what you're asking there, Nick George. I'm not sure. Should Bayern consider Thuram as an option for us? No, we're fine. We're fine. We have Ziyech. I have big hopes for Ziyech. The fact that like he played a significant portion of the season, not like a ton, but he still played a good chunk. And like when we gave Lewandowski a rest, it was Ziyech that played. From that perspective, I'm like perfect. I want him. I expect him to get a lot more game time, and from that, I think he's good. I don't think he's gonna necessarily like start every second game or anything of that sort. But I think like when we're looking for a striker to come on, he'll be the first person that we look for. And from that perspective, I want to see him succeed. He's got the talent, he's got the ability, and the fact that he's what's seemingly best friends with Alphonso Davies. Makes it perfect because that means Alphonso Davies can get the crosses in, and Ziyech in the future can just head it in or whatnot. So I'm looking forward to that as well. I'm gonna try and like speed through a little bit more of these comments because I'm kind of behind right now. Should Löw be sacked for? Yes. Before I read your rest of your comment, yes, he should be. Euro 2020. A lot of people aren't happy with his strange chat and stuff. Yeah, yes. Club and but he won't. Yeah. He should be sacked. He should have been sacked after the World Cup failure. He should have been sacked a lot earlier before that. My opinion, he should have been sacked after 2012. The Euros in 2012. But I'm not the one in charge right now. But for me, he should have been sacked back then. Why? Because in my opinion, he wasted the golden generation of Germany. In my opinion, the generation that was on par, if not better, than the Spanish generation. And it was the Spanish generation that won everything, not the German generation. And if it wasn't in 2014, if it wasn't for Mustafi getting injured, we probably wouldn't have even won the World Cup in 2014. Because it took until Mustafi, like it didn't work the whole tournament. And then he had to change his system back to the, what the players were more used to when Mustafi got injured. So, yes. My grandparents have both Dutch and German heritage, so I have an excuse for liking the national teams. I'm just going to keep commenting so I can see my face on the screen. I mean, what better reason is there to comment than that? Straight up. Taliesin, don't blame me. You look like an Arab Disney prince. Arabian night. I can't do that. I can't sing. I used to be able to sing. Agreed. I would have loved to have seen a fully fit Badstuber. I've used to enjoy watching him, but just shame about his fitness. Yeah. Again, the most talented centre back we've ever had, Badstuber, just ruined by his injuries and his fitness. It's always a shame when a player has their career hampered in a way by injuries. Now, there are obviously players that have their career ruined by injuries, which I would say is actually the case with Badstuber. And then there are players that just have their careers hindered by injuries, such as, say, Robben, who will like be injured, come back, be injured, come back. But with Badstuber, it was always like 6 months injury. Like he would come back 6 months out. He would come back, and it was just a tragedy, honestly. It was just a tragedy. So it's one of the big tragedies of football that nobody's really talking about, and that's my issue. What are we going to do with Nubel? Can we loan him to a good club? Chelsea, maybe. They need a goalkeeper, maybe, and he'll get experience. See, I have a soft spot for Nubel. I have a soft spot for goalkeepers because they're kind of in the situation right now where it's like Neuer. We have Neuer, all right. So they're not gonna play, and Neuer's the captain, so he's not gonna go to the bench. So for the sake of their career, I think like a 1-year loan wouldn't do them justice. I think they would need to have a 2-year loan. Both him and Frischl, 2-year loan, to like get proper game time, get to play properly, and then like in 2 years' time, come back and see how Neuer is doing in that point. But like goalkeepers, they're just in a bad spot, honestly. They're just in a bad spot at Bayern, honestly, because Neuer is there, and Neuer is not gonna accept that like other people are gonna play instead of him. So that's just the way it is. You look like I look like Gnabry. So that's what you're talking about. I look like a mix of Ansu Fati and Gnabry. That's what you meant. I see. I don't see it. People have said I look like when I had like shorter hair. People said that I look like Mbappe. I didn't see that either. You saying that I look like Gnabry, I've heard that as well. So maybe I do, but right now I need to get a shave. I don't want to get a haircut as well, but like I don't want to get a haircut just yet. I want to kind of let it just grow a little bit and then get one. But like I don't see it personally myself. But if people say that, you're not the first person that has said that, and I've heard a few people say as well that I look like Mbappe, which that one I don't understand at all because I think we look completely different. But like some people have said that before. Thoughts on Luis Gustavo? Luis Gustavo, great player, helped us tremendously. 2012, 2013, absolutely brilliant. But I don't know what else we want to say. He worked great at Bayern, but he hasn't really kicked off anywhere else. Like he worked great at Bayern, but he hasn't really. He also had a crazy shot, like a shot that would sometimes be like the best shot in the world, and sometimes be the worst shot in the world. Like it's either or. It's like either the best shot in the world or the worst shot in the world. So I always appreciate about players that just like they take a shot and like if it's 50-50. Either it's like goes top right corner or it goes to the moon. It's like, bro, how? How? But hey, what's your opinion on Payet against going for Havertz? I think for the price, it's the right decision. For the price, it was the right decision. Müller is going to start. Let's be totally honest. Müller, since Flick came in, starts every single game. And that's just the way it is. Like Müller, when we play football, he starts. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that because he has shown that he's performing at the highest level. Not just with his assists, not just with his goals, but also just his overall gameplay. Just so I'm okay with us not going for Havertz. Obviously, Havertz is a fantastic talent. A little bit unproven internationally, I guess, but like that, it matters a little, but it doesn't matter too much because that's generally over within a season. After a season, people, players like him, they get more adjusted to the international competition. But I'm okay with that decision. I don't think it was a bad decision. I know people want us to spend that kind of money. I don't think we need to, especially in a position that we don't really need to at all. So I'm okay. Personally, I think it was a good decision. I think it was a good decision. We've done worse decisions. Two that come to mind are one was Sané and the other one was Kevin De Bruyne. Both players that wanted to come to us, but we didn't want to splash the cash. We regretted that with Kevin De Bruyne, who then went on to City when we didn't splash the cash for him. I think it was 60 million back then, which would have obviously been our record signing, but we didn't want to do that. And Sané, who then went on to Manchester City as well. But then now we've got him. Obviously, we spend a lot more money now than we did back then. So if we would have just splashed the cash back then, it would have been better. Right? We would have had those two players at Bayern right now. But then again, who knows how else everything would have gone? Maybe at this point we wouldn't have Gnabry, who was obviously pivotal and vital for our Champions League campaign. Football is a game of like ifs and buts. So who knows? But I think personally, as of right now, I think it was a good decision of Bayern not to go for Havertz. Will I come to regret that in the future? Who knows? What's our potential? I hope we can see more from him. He's got a lot of potential, but the thing with him is that he is honestly a fourth striker. I was going to say third striker, but honestly, he's a fourth striker at this point. Like, obviously, number one is Lewandowski. Number two, I would say, is Zirkzee. Number three would be Gnabry as a striker. And then that's where Arp would come in. Like, Arp, I feel a little bit sorry for the lad. I don't know what was the right move for him. Let me just say, I wouldn't have done it. Now, Brazzo, we all know he has his PowerPoints. He has this PowerPoint presentation, right? But from that perspective, like beyond that, I can't see him make it into the squad, I'll be honest. Not as long as Lewandowski can probably play another 10 years. I know people say, oh, well, he's 30 odd years. But the thing is, in football, nowadays, actually, I wanted to make a video about this, actually, because of the whole Messi situation. I wanted to make a video about this. But footballers nowadays, right, are going to be able to play until they're 40. At the top level, are going to be able to play until like 38, 39, 40. Because footballers nowadays are a lot more focused on their fitness, a lot more focused on their nutritional values. They are a lot more healthy. They have a lot better facilities to help them, stay fit, stay at the top level. And a player like Lewandowski, especially as well, is going to stay at that top level for another 4, 5, 6 years because he has been taking care of his body so much. He hasn't really been dealing with all these injuries. So I think it might have been the wrong move for Arp to come to Bayern. That's the way I see it. But I mean to say, what are your thoughts on Ansu? Oh, and I was also pointing out you look like Gnabry. So sorry for no worries. Ansu Fati, from what I've seen, I haven't seen too much of Barcelona, and I saw the performance of him obviously with Spain, his debut. I like him. I think he looks like a very solid player. Now, of course, there's a difference between a very solid player and a player that's gonna start for Barcelona. People say that you lot are currently in like this situation, this position where like, you're not making it for the Champions League and so on and so forth. And I know Messi himself came out and said that, but like from an outsider's perspective, right? I think you lot deserve a lot of credit. I don't think there are many top teams in Europe as of right now. I don't think there are many overwhelming favorites in Europe right now. So while you might not be at the best you've ever been, like obviously there's certain times where you looked absolutely unbeatable, but just looking as an outsider here, I think he's going to play for you. I don't think he's necessarily going to start for you next season. I think he's probably going to play quite a bit for you, and I feel like he's going to be one of your starters for the next 10, 15 years, for the rest of his career, basically. But he's not the second coming of Messi, basically. Obviously, he's not the second coming of Messi, but he's a very good player from what I've seen. And I feel like your team, I know people are underestimating it, but I feel like your team is still one of the top 6 teams in Europe. Like one of the 6 teams that I think are going to challenge for the Champions League, regardless of what happens every single season. Obviously, depending on how your elections go, that might change as well. But just from that perspective, I think like there's not enough credit being given to you just because of how your Champions League campaigns have ended in the past couple of seasons. But I do feel like you lot can make it back to the top. That's what I've got to say. If Bayern buy Brozovic and Perisic from Inter and Dest from Ajax, and if we sell Thiago and Martinez, what do you think about Bayern market? I think it's very good. Yusuf, I don't think it's very likely. Like, we've been quite stingy so far, and it's not because we don't have money, or it's not because that we don't want to spend money, but like, I was listening to an interview with Fabrizio Romano that he'd had with Arsenal Fan TV. I was watching that yesterday, and he was basically saying that a lot of clubs have been hit very, very hard by Corona, which obviously a lot of us already knew, but that a lot of clubs are managing around that by having these broken up signings, these broken up deals. And while I could definitely see us do that for example, for Dest, I could most certainly see us do that for Dest. I don't think Dest would necessarily want to join Bayern because, let's face it, Pavard is the starter. All right. So I don't think a player as young as Dest, that has like such a long career ahead of him, would necessarily want to compete with that right away. Like, if he was the guaranteed starter, I would say he most likely would think about it and come. But like, I don't think that's the case. Perisic, I think we're going to get. Thiago and Martinez, I think we're going to sell. Brozovic, I can't see. Fabrizio Romano, who is obviously the most trusted guy as of right now, this transfer window, he mentioned like a week ago or 2 weeks ago in a reply to someone that's not happening. That like there is no actual concrete links between Brozovic and Bayern. So I don't know whether that's according to him, there is no concrete link with us and Brozovic. So who knows? Maybe he's wrong, but when it comes to transfers, he is the person that everyone knows is always spot on. He always has these links to the club. So it would be a good window, maybe a bit excessive, but I'd much rather have more players than not enough players, I guess. But like, I don't think it's going to happen, realistically speaking. With Sané wearing number 10 and Gnabry wearing number 7, do we now have... let's read that again. With Sané wearing number 10 and Gnabry wearing number 7, do we now have the next dynamic duo on our hands? I hope Flick is sensible and invests him so Sané cuts in from the right and Gnabry from the left. Obviously, the parallels to Robin and Ribéry are being made here, which is not a bad parallel to make. I like him. I think we're gonna have a good dynamic on our hands. But I think the thing that really made Robben and Drury so good were their chemistry, not with each other, but more so with Lam and Alaba. Obviously Frank and Alaba, best buddies, and Lam and Robben just had a chemistry that was unmatched, essentially. So Sane, if we play with inverted wingers, they need to get the chemistry right. And our whole squad right now is relatively the same age, besides maybe Davis, he's a little bit younger, and obviously Lewandowski and Müller and Neuer, they're a little bit older, but like we have that right chemistry with our wingers and our fullbacks that like they would probably get along very, very well. Kimmich and Sane apparently are like best friends. Because apparently like Kimmich was calling Sane every single day, like you're telling him to come to Bayern essentially. So they have that kind of contact. So that chemistry needs to be the thing that needs to really focus on for this dynamic to become as legendary as the previous one. But if it happens, if in 2 years' time I can look back and be like, amazing, then you know what? Amazing. But let's not forget Coman here as well. Let's not forget Coman. I know Coman has his faults. Coman does everything right until the final ball, until the final decision. All right, he does everything right until then. But let's not forget that. All right, he's not young anymore, but he can still get better. There are players that get better once they hit like the late 20s. And I'm hoping with Coman, his decision-making is going to get a lot better the longer he plays. That's been my hope for the last couple of years. Hasn't happened so much, but it might. You never know with a competition now, with real competition now, it might. He might have to improve a lot, and he will. Who's faster, Davis or Maguire? Maguire. Mission sextuple next season. Yes, Mr. Hokage. Yes, mission sextuple. The big thing, the big worry with that is that there's no Telecom Cup. There is no Audi Cup. The best trophies of the season, and they're not happening. Sad season. Sad season. None of those legendary cups. Unfortunate. Maguire, of course. Of course. With Gnabry cutting enough on the left, Davies will also get space for overlapping. Exactly, and that's the key thing here. Like if you're gonna play with inverted wingers, Davies, has been very, very good at crossing. Defensively, he's still a little bit shaky, but in terms of crossing, I would honestly put him almost as high as Alaba. And I think Alaba, I feel sorry for Alaba. Okay, I want to talk about this very quickly, right? Let me get rid of your comment just for a second, because I want to get this point across very, very quickly, because it's an important point. Davis came in this season, right? And people are calling him the best left back in the world. I don't have an issue with that. But Alaba, who's been doing the same thing that Davis has been doing this season, right? But is more defensively solid, is not being hailed the best left back in the world because he's not as good offensively, and because he's not the new kid on the block. I have an issue with that. All right? I get it. Davis, he lit the world on fire, all right? People that never heard of him, now they know of him. People that never saw him play, now they've seen him play. But people are discounting and discrediting Alaba as well. Like people are discounting and discrediting Alaba as well, who's been doing it for years. But because he's not the new kid on the block, people are like, the seventh best left back. If Alaba was 19 right now, and this was Alaba's like breakthrough season, people would be saying Alaba best left back of all time. He could play the exact same way that he's been playing the last 3 seasons, and people would say Alaba is now the best left back in the world because he's the new kid on the block. And I don't have an issue with David being named the best left back in the world by people, so on and so forth. And I don't have an issue with Alaba being named the best left back in the world, so on and so forth. Right? I'm just pointing out kind of like the football hive mind. How if you're the new kid on the block, people rate you significantly higher than if you've been doing it for an established seasons, right? Good example. I mean, Mbappe is not really the new kid on the block, but like people call Mbappe, even to, nowadays, the best player of all time or the future, the greatest, the greatest in this position. I'm like, he's not even the best player at PSG. Just because Neymar is more established, don't discredit Neymar just because you want to bring up Mbappe. Same thing with Alaba and Davis. Don't discredit Alaba just because you want to bring up Davis. Like, let's just be rational, okay? That's kind of what I preach: rationality. I know it's not a sexy thing. People don't want to hear that rationality. Be rational, but just the way I see it. Just the way I see it. All right. Should Bayern have kept Højbjerg considering how well he's doing now? Nah. Højbjerg is doing so well now because he's had a lot of game time, because he's got consistent game time. First at Southampton, and now obviously with his move to Tottenham as well. He's been doing so well because he's had so much game time. At Southampton, he was their best player. It was just fantastic. Took him a little bit to get used to playing with them, and then once he actually started playing consistently with them, he was their best player. So honestly, he is just. He probably wouldn't have made the same progress at Bayern than he did, outside of Bayern. The same thing with Gaudino. Granted, I've not really heard anything of Gaudino anymore. I always thought he had a lot of potential. I don't know why we didn't play him more, honestly, but I don't know what he's doing right now, though, to be fair. So I can't really comment on Gaudino myself. Hard to keep players when they're behind Schweinsteiger, Lahm, Alonso, Vidal, Martinez, and Thiago. Yeah, exactly. He wouldn't have had the game time. He wouldn't have been able to progress. Can Bayern win a treble 2 times in a row? I wish I could say definitively yes, but let's face it, the Champions League. Actually, let me rephrase that. I was going to say the Champions League is difficult to win, but let me rephrase that because I want to say this. Real Madrid hasn't made any signings. They haven't made any signings, all right? They're not signing anyone this summer, according to the rumors, all right? PSG haven't made any signings, I think. Liverpool haven't really made what's the Greek defender that they signed, and they're probably going to get Thiago as well. But they haven't really made any real signings so far as well. All right, the big clubs haven't really made any. The clubs that are we should be worried about in the Champions League haven't really made any signings. Now Barcelona, they're kind of in that period where they could still be a threat, but they're not the biggest threat. So from that perspective, I think yes. I'm always obviously confident that we can win it all, but realistically speaking, I think that it will probably be easier to win the Champions League and do the treble shoot next season than it would be at any other point, any other season. That's, I think, how we'll go down. Ben Loud, as always, my goodness. Welcome. Hi, buddy. Sorry I'm late. How are you doing? I always appreciate when you're in the chat because I know you're not a Bayern fan, but you're still always here. So it's always nice to see you in the chat. How am I doing? I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing great. How are you doing? I hope you're fine as well. I know you lot just signed... Obviously, you lot are like the one team that's been signing players left, right, and center. Obviously, with Havertz, Werner, so on and so forth, Ziyech. So you lot are on a roll. I have to say, you lot are on a roll. It's only, one could almost be a little bit envious, but I'm not. But I'm great. I hope you're great as well. Is Brazil proving himself as one director for receiving too much criticism? Yes. The reason why he got so much criticism at the beginning, at his tenure at Bayern as the sporting director, was because he made no signing in his first transfer window. So from that perspective, criticism was just, and then he also didn't really have the experience. But he's been proving himself. He's been proving himself. Like the Davis deal alone is reason enough to say well done. Like he's been straight up proving himself. I think the Lucas Hernandez deal might have been a little bit iffy, not because I don't think Lucas Hernandez is a great player, but because I think he clashes directly with Alaba. But we'll see, obviously, how everything goes. We'll see how everything progresses, and then we'll know exactly more. But as of right now, I will say that he has been doing a fantastic job, which I didn't think I would say when he first took over. So yeah. Watch the 2013 final again, and truly how great that addition was Heinkes for putting Robin centrally in the second half. Best ever, in my opinion. It's been a while since I watched the chat. I was actually you guys can't see my screen. Can you? No, you guys can't see my screen. I wouldn't know how to do that. But I was actually watching the Champions League final that just happened again. Currently 63 minutes in. And the reason why I was watching it again is because I've been watching the English version the whole time, the BT Sport version. It's on YouTube, and I recorded it when it happened, obviously. But I've not been able to watch the German version yet. And I was like watching all these different versions as well. So I can like hear all the commentators, talk about Bayern. It's like, yeah, music to my ears. But like I've been rewatching that today, and then I was like, let me actually go live. I want to try out StreamYard just to see how it works, just seeing whether it works. And I really like the function that you can show the comments like this. Is actually a very cool function. But I'll probably rewatch 2013 soon. Ali Zagmood, good to go. Gotta go. Have a good stream. You're probably already gone by now, but thank you. Peace out, and have a nice rest of the day. The stream won't be too much. Actually, oh no, I forgot that the game is happening. Started 2 minutes ago. Well, I didn't expect that. So I'm gonna probably leave in a few seconds, ladies and gentlemen. Then we'll have been live for an hour. Alaba 19 was nowhere near Davis at 19. Moreover, Davis' dribbling ability and pace is just way better. Only real feel that Alaba is better is defending. Yes, but I mean the position is called left back. It's a defending. I know left backs nowadays are as much defending as they are attacking, but like realistically speaking, there's a lot that goes into that. But I'm just the point I was making is like how young Davis is, so on and so forth. The point I was making is that like because Davis is for many people the new toy, the quote unquote the new toy, the new glamour, the new shiny object, people automatically value him a lot more higher, a lot better than more of the established pros, which I don't have an issue with. I just find it weird how that's always the case. Like if there's a new left back next season, people are going to value that person a lot higher than the previous best. That's just the way it is. Both are amazing, though, but if we're being honest, Alaba at left back last season was just bang average, and Davis this season showed how effective an informed left back is to the team. Fair enough. You think Lucas Hernandez and Tolisso can be important players for the upcoming season? Mir Tolisso, yes. Lucas Hernandez, I'm not sure. Lucas Hernandez, the issue that we have with him is that he fits the same profile as Alaba, whereas he can play left back or left-footed centre back. And I don't know where he necessarily fits in unless we get he's gonna get minutes. Don't get me wrong. They're gonna play important roles. Don't get me wrong. He's gonna bring stability in the team. Don't get me wrong. But is he necessarily going to be like our go-to centre back, which we paid 80 million euros for, our highest ever transfer fee? I don't think so. I don't think he's going to be a starter or a rotational player. I think he's just going to be in that ballpark where it's like he's going to play every 2 games essentially, like just the same as like all our other centre backs, every 2 games. But for 80 million, you kind of expect him to be our starter. Like we paid 35 million for Pavard, and we all know he's going to be a starter at right back next season, and if not a right back, at centre back. So he's going to play a lot more games than I feel like Lucas Hernandez would, and I don't know whether that's a good thing considering he cost 80 million. When are you moving back to Munich? Very good question. Very good question, CPZ. I was planning on moving back to Munich this year. But Munich is expensive, bro. Munich is expensive, all right? My law degree also doesn't do anything in Munich because obviously completely different laws. So I couldn't even be a lawyer in Munich. So I was planning originally to move back to Munich this winter, 2020. Then Corona hit as well. So now I'm like, am I? I don't know. Well, not this year, that for sure. But am I in the future? I'm also not sure. I would have to find a decent job first, honestly, and there's a lot of hassle involved. I enjoy Munich a lot more than Manchester. I will say that right now. It's a lot more of a better city than Manchester, in my honest opinion. There's a lot more to do in Munich and around Munich, but it just too expensive of a City, and especially considering that I would start back at like ground zero at like point zero, and I'd have to work my way back up. I don't know whether that's necessarily worth it. So I'm actually waiting right now on the fence right now, just like seeing how some of my other things that I've started doing, how they all pan out, and then depending on that, I guess I'll know more. But as of right now, I don't know if I even will. I don't know as of right now. Do you think Lewandowski will be considered in top 10 strikers of all time after he retires? Yes. 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 Look, there was a video released recently about like the top 10 best strikers of all time in the Champions League. Lewandowski is third. Lewandowski is third of all time in the Champions League, only behind Ronaldo and Messi. He's got pretty much the same exact goals per minute ratio as Messi. Messi has obviously played a lot more games in the Champions League than Lewandowski has, but like they've got the same goals per game ratio. He's already third. He's gonna be regarded as the best, in my opinion. He should be regarded as like a top 4, top 5 striker of all time. Obviously, it's difficult to judge him, compared to like other generations. But like he should be regarded as like a top striker of all time. So the record is going to speak for itself. Also, funny enough, Müller is 4 goals away from surpassing Ibrahimovic and Shevchenko in the top 10 of all time in terms of like Champions League goals. So 4 goals. If he scores 4 more goals, he's in the top 10. And that despite the fact that he hasn't scored in 4 seasons in the Champions League. It's crazy. Müller could be like honestly top 8 or so. Like Benzema is the only person I don't think he's gonna be able to catch, because Benzema doesn't even take penalties and he's like 6th or so. Like crazy. Benzema is like 5th or 6th in the Champions League all-time goal scorer without taking a single penalty, which obviously Lewandowski, Ronaldo, Messi, they all take. So it's kind of crazy. Ali Zagmood back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Only took you 11 minutes. Welcome back. How about a midfield of Alaba and Kimmich and play Lucas at left centre-back? I'm not against that idea, but I know Alaba is kind of mediocre in midfield. I'll come out and say it. I'll just come out and say it straight with a straight face. Alaba is mediocre in midfield. Like he plays obviously for Austria, but I don't think he necessarily plays fantastic for Austria. I think he's much better as a centre back, and I think he's significantly better as a left back. So, I think he's both good as a left back and good as a centre back. So from that perspective, I don't think he's necessarily gonna go into midfield, in my honest opinion. Sam the Man YouTube, I really like that profile picture. I've never heard of your channel before. I'm gonna check it out. One second before I read you, let me just quickly type in Sam the Man YouTube. I don't know whether you're actually a YouTube thing or not, but I hope you are. I want to see what your banner is. You do have a YouTube account. No banner. That's a shame. Such a great profile picture, but then just a YouTube logo as a banner. Okay, that's a little. I'm a little bit let down right now. Who should Bayern sign, Dest or Arendt? Look, as I said, I don't think either of them necessarily. Because if Dest joins, obviously Dest is a year older than Arendt. Neither of them is really gonna feature. That's the big thing. Neither of them is really gonna feature. Yeah, they're young players, and I personally would want them to, for their own career, to like play consistently, to play week in, week out, to get better and better. And at Bayern, that's not going to be the case, because we have 2 right backs in Pavard, who's going to be a starting right back, and in Kimmich, who's going to be like our second right back. So yes, they could take over from Kimmich, and Kimmich could be permanently in midfield, but Pavard is still going to start like 9 games out of 10. And I just don't want that to be the case for them, where it's like, well, we want to play, but we can't. I want them to, for their own career, I want them to get to not come to, as crazy. For their own career, I don't want them to come to Bayern, because I generally feel like they need week in, week out, 90 minutes of football, to especially in that young kind of phase, you need to play those kind of minutes to really develop. Davis was lucky this season that we had a lot of injuries. Alaba got slotted into centre back, and Davis did so well at left back, and now you can't think of Davis not as left back, that kind of thing. But that's because that was a necessity because of injuries. Yes, obviously Dest and Aarons, they could play, because of necessity of injuries, but banking on that to get into the team is not the way you should really think about it. You should realistically play for a club where you can play it regardless, where you're the starting right back, where you're the starting player essentially. So that's the way I view it. That's the way I look at it, ladies and gentlemen. I will say this though. I wasn't expecting to stream for an hour. This was sort of like a test stream, honestly, where I just wanted to stream for a little bit, see how StreamYard works. Obviously, the logo is in. Oh, great. Anyway, the light bulb just fell. I put it on the desk and it just fell because I moved around a little bit and it fell, and I think it just broke as well. It was a broken light bulb anyway, like a not working light bulb anyway, but now it's shut. But this was supposed to be a test stream. As you can probably tell, it says powered by StreamYard. I haven't even bought the version. I just wanted to try it out. I like the thing where you can highlight comments. I really do like that. But maybe we'll try that out more in the future. Let me know if you would want to see more just random streams like these where I'm just talking about football, before games or something. Definitely would be up for it or down for it. I always like saying up and down, down and up. But besides that, though, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you all in the next one. I kind of want to watch the football right now. I hope you're having a good evening, a good night, and a good rest of the day. Until next time, everyone, peace out and bye.